there as well. So we're always on in different locations. I think we're beaming out to about 15 to 20 different social network sites all at once, so many to be named. Just rest assured, we are on the air and everywhere, from the community to the world. When I mean it when I say that, we are just broadcasting all over the place, all over the globe. You never know where Jesse T is going to arrive. Did you hear about the Mexican journalist Javier Valdez Cardenas? He was assassinated in Mexico. Now, this is one of the reasons why we have to build this wall. This guy was an anti crime guy. He was one of Mexico's most well recognized and finest journalists that reported a lot about the drug cartels and the corruption in the Mexican government, about what was going on at the border. And he was very popular, very well known, a multi-award winner in Mexico. And just the other day, not much news was put out about it, but he was shot and killed as he was just kind of walking down the street. Now, that doesn't really happen in this country to reporters, but in Mexico it does. And when you think about it logically, that's one of the reasons why we need to build a wall, not only just to keep the illegals out, but to keep the bad guys out. There's a lot of bad guys on that border on just the other side, and they kind of crisscross the Rio Grande and the border. Sort of, it's very porous, and they're violent people. I mean, just in the daylight, they killed him. They've killed many reporters over the years who are just trying to report what's going on there on the border with the drug cartels. And so this guy was a very controversial guy, well known. It would sort of be like one of our superstar reporters was murdered just kind of walking down the street after he left a Starbucks. That's the equation of it. So think about it when you think about the wall. We really got to have something against some of these people that are really just bad people. We have to have a barrier, and what we have now is just not good enough. So I wanted to mention that because I had lunch today at Subway, and I had one of these veggie sandwiches toasted on wheat bread. Oh man, it was good. Except I told them to hold the chili peppers and the olives. Because if you don't tell them to hold the chili peppers and olives, it'll be like a chili pepper olive sandwich. So we've got to build that wall for a lot of reasons other than just keeping people from crossing the border both back and forth. Not many Americans cross the Mexican border, that's for sure. So I think the more important thing is to help Mexico become a better nation economically, academically, education-wise, health-wise, and help them develop some jobs down there other than our major manufacturing flying down there for cheap slave labor, but help them develop some jobs somehow so they can employ their 150 to 190 million people that live in Mexico. So just a couple of thoughts there. Hey, if you're looking for a job this summer, one of the things that you're going to need to do is you gotta be very conscientious what you put on your resume, because we have all of these online sites now. lost it for a little while, but that's okay. So I'm getting some feedback now. There we go. That's a little bit better. So anyway, so we're talking about these feelings things. I mean, really? Feelings. Oh my goodness. You can't even ask somebody if English is their native tongue and where they were originally from. Saying hi to RJ Johnson, baby. Mama T's watching. Gwen Legge. JG's watching. Also, Rock. Rock is watching. R.S. Short is watching too. Thanks a lot. Here's the number 3 thing that you can't ask a employee that you're thinking of hiring. Are you planning to get married? You can't even ask that. So if they ask you, you got a wedding ring on, right? And you're the employer, that's a nice wedding ring, male or female. Wow, how long have you been married? They ask you that. You say, well, I've been married 29 years. You're proud of it. Then if you respond and you say, well, do you have any plans of getting married soon? You can be brought up on charges. Are you kidding? Really? Our country has gotten so soft. It's unbelievable. We shouldn't be called the United States of America. We should be called the United States of pansies. United States of feelings. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Feelings. Wah, 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 wah. Right? Oh my goodness. Here's another one that blew me away when I came across this one. There's a connection why I'm standing out here in front of the Los Angeles Zoo and in front of the Gene Autry Museum of the American West in the entrance to Griffith Park. There's a reason. Now, I'm going to connect this all together a little bit later on. You know I have a way of connecting things in the world according to Torero, of course. That's me, Jesse T, where you get straight on the point. If you ask this, are you going to have kids? You can get in trouble. I mean, some of these just destroy my ideas of being a human being and having a relationship, a building rapport and trust and confidence and with people. You can't even ask them if they're going to have kids someday. Now, somebody please tell me why that's a problem. Why is that a problem? I mean, so some female employer asks a guy who's trying to get a job, a gig, if he's going to have kids someday. And he runs off and files charges. Now, what the heck is so wrong with that? See, we've raised a bunch of just people who just have got no hardness, have got no grit, got no true grit anymore. When I see stories like this that are in mainstream media, and then I watch mainstream media, and then I go amongst the tribes of people throughout my day in the real estate business, covering from the very lowest income to the very highest income, from residential to commercial, every type of real estate I work in. It just blows me away how humanity in America has changed. And this just further tells me that we really have come a long way. You can't ask, what holidays do you celebrate? Because of pressure. Because people are trying to find out what religion you are. Well, who cares? Really? You can't ask. I'm only at 6 out of 16 things you can't ask. Do you go to church? You can't ask that. You can't ask, when did you graduate from high school? Oh, what? Oh, it just gives me a migraine. It really does. It's just, I don't get migraines, but this kind of stuff just sends me into orbit. I can't ask somebody if I'm never gonna own a company again. I've decided. I'm not going to employ anybody in America. I'll end up being thrown in jail, or I'll have civil lawsuits against me just for being a decent, inquisitive person. Unbelievable. Why can't you ask somebody what high school they go to? Well, here's the reason. Other than verifying you're old enough to work, your age should be irrelevant in the hiring decision. Most interviewers know they should avoid asking how old you are because it opens them up to charges of age discrimination. Nonetheless, they might ask questions like the one above that will give them a rough idea of your birth date. And this is how you're supposed to respond to this nincompoop, stupid survey. If you're not willing to reveal how old you are, a vague response and a bit of humor might suffice. If you're obviously older, a response of too long ago can deflect the question without revealing your exact age. Younger workers might say something such as, not that long ago, but I've been working hard ever since. So you're not supposed to ask somebody when they graduated from high school. You can't ask them if they've ever been arrested. Man, I ask people that all the time when I'm trying to screen them as a tenant. I tell them, look, I'm going to do a public record search on you and I'm going to get your arrest records. So you might as well tell me now if you're arrested or not and be honest, because honesty goes a long way in the makeup of a decision, don't you think? I love people who are honest about who they are and the transgressions of their life or whatever. But you can't ask that. You get yourself in major trouble. All right? You're not allowed to ask this one either. Now, this one is pretty amazing that you can't answer or ask this one either. How often do you call in sick? You cannot ask anybody how often they call in sick. I'll tell you something, guys. Our society has really turned into a society that is so weak and so temperamental and just so silly. It's just an amazing thing. You can't ask them, have you ever used drugs? Oh, great. You can't ask them, how about this one? You'll like this one. Number 12 of 16 things you are not allowed to ask. Okay? You'll like this one a lot. You can't ask them, what are your child care arrangements? I got to get through this. This drives me crazy. How do you feel about unions? You can't ask them that. How they feel about unions. If you ask them how they feel about unions, you're in trouble. You can't ask them, will you take a lie detector test? Oh boy. I would not be a good human resource person. I've come to that understanding. I see you're in the National Guard. Do you expect to deploy anytime soon? How about this one? Oh, you're going to like this one. Right? Yeah, you'll like this one here. Let's go backwards here. When do you expect to retire? Okay, look it, folks. What the heck do you ask them then? Do you sit there when the employee comes in looking for a job, and just do you sit there and you take your glasses off and you sit there and you go, for those of you on the radio and you can't hear what I'm doing because you can't see what I'm doing, I'm just looking at the camera on AVTV Live and the Digital Broadcasting TV network and just sitting here like I'm being an employer making funny faces. I guess that's all you can do. I wonder if you can ask them how big of shoes they wear. I wonder, hey, do you have boxers or briefs? Do you like hot dogs or do you like oysters? Do you have a lot of pink shirts or do you have a lot of black shirts? Do you like quarters or do you like dimes? Do you have Goodyear tires on your car or Dunlop? Oh, Lord. Like Janis Joplin once said, Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes Benz? Unbelievable. So I thought those were some cool things to know, especially if you're looking to hire somebody here soon. You got to be really careful today what you ask a possible employee. Otherwise, Tracy, Desert Productions, Rock, R.S. Short, Gwen Legge, all the folks that are watching, you're going to be in some serious trouble. So everybody's complaining and saying, Watergate, Schmatergate, Watergate, Watergate, Trump and Watergate, Comey, Trump, Watergate, all of that stuff, right? Well, the guys who would know Watergate and what it would take for something to be another Watergate are the two guys that originally broke the story of Watergate back in the 1970s under the Nixon administration, and that was Woodward and Bernstein. You know what they said about this whole thing? I'll tell you what they said. You might surprise you what they said about this whole thing. Woodward and Bernstein say the Comey firing is different than Watergate. The celebrated investigative reporters that covered and broke the Watergate story with Deep Throat and the whole 9 yards, they were asked the question, is this Watergate? This is my new Watergate. Well, Woodward and Bernstein said that the Washington Post, of course, that they wrote for, the Pulitzer Prize winning reporters, said, no, it isn't. It's not a clear crime. Not like Watergate, where they broke in and they tried to destroy and steal records and were caught red-handed. It's not Watergate. Go back and review what Watergate was all about. President Trump did not do Watergate here, and neither did Comey, being on the other end. So I think that Woodward and Bernstein would probably know a Watergate if they saw it, right? I think they would. Okay, the reason why I'm out here in the beautiful Southern California blue skies, a little bit of rain clouds you can see in the background here. They got some darkness to them, a little bit of rain. Maybe we'll get a springtime, summertime little drizzle here tonight. But we're in beautiful Southern California, standing in front of the Gene Autry Museum, one of the world's famous singing cowboys. Of course, there was the original silent cowboy, the first cowboy movie star, Tom Mix, and then there was Roy Rogers and Gene Autry, the cowboy singing stars. And then we're in front here also of the Los Angeles Zoo. And the reason why I'm in front of the Los Angeles Zoo is because the animals that are kept in this zoo, and they're changing the habitats all around to make them more natural and more beautiful. I was driving around Los Angeles today, conducting my normal real estate business, going through several different type of communities, socioeconomic communities of all levels. And as I was observing people walking on the street and driving and just doing the things that they do on their regular workday in the middle of the day, just all kinds of people, old people, white people, black people, Asian people, young people, tall people, skinny people, out of shape people, in shape people, just people, blue-eyed people, brown-eyed people, people. And the LA Zoo came into my head. Well, you asked me, why did the LA Zoo come into your head, Jesse T? I said, well, it came into my head as I pondered driving the Gray Ghost. As I pondered driving, staying out of trouble as best as I can, not giving the flying fickle finger of fate or the flying bird to too many people. As I pondered why the LA Zoo came into my head, I figured it out. So I thought, well, I drive up to the LA Zoo and I do my show in front of the LA Zoo instead of someplace else in Los Angeles. Now, the last destination I was at before I got here was coming through Hollywood. And that's a zoo of its own. In fact, all of Los Angeles is kind of turned into a giant zoo. It's sort of like if you went behind the gates of the LA Zoo here and all the animals were running amok and free, living their lives the way they would naturally live their lives independently in the wild. The hippos would be acting like hippos. The birds would be acting like birds. The lions would be acting like lions. The baboons would be acting like baboons. The hyenas and the gophers would be acting like them. And if there was no zoo cages or areas where they kept them apart, there would be a lot of hunting down of other animals to eat. And there would be a lot of dangerous violence going on in there behind the LA Zoo in the mountains here of Griffith Park. But it would all be sort of kind of organized, because you know that the animals have got to eat and they're going to hunt to eat. And you know that the baboons have got to be baboons and the orangutans got to be orangutans and the snakes have got to be snakes, right? You know that. So you can count on certain things going on in the LA Zoo that you can count on. You know that an elephant is going to be an elephant. And you know that the giraffes that they have here, I believe they have two. They have a panda, a couple pandas here too, I believe. They're going to act like they should accordingly, right? And you also know that if you desire to go beyond that gate and all those animals were running in there free and wild, that your life would be in the palms of your hands, because you would be fighting elements that are trying to hunt you down. But you know that if you went into the rabbit part of the zoo where the rabbits are and the turtles, they're not going to hunt you down. But just yonder is where the cougar is, the jaguar, the mountain lion. They're going to hunt you down. So you don't go over there, right? You don't go there unless you need to go there for some reason. So got to thinking about Los Angeles as I was driving around LA today. We really are living now in a complete breakdown of society, complete chaos and anarchy. Very little structure is left. If a person can get away with something, they get away with it at the cost and behest of somebody else. If they can take advantage, they take advantage, irrespective of right or wrong or honor or ethic. We have really transcended to a lesser quality of living species than the animals at the LA Zoo. At least they have a built-in instinctual order. We, on the other hand, as human beings, think we are loaded full of privilege and rights just because we are humans. Or like the Ferengi from Star Trek used to say, humans, I can smell them. We think we have these privileges and rights to act any way we want. You hear about that woman, African-American woman, who was told to move to the back of the plane because she was creating so much problems? What about those coppers that dragged that one Asian guy off the United plane? Where has humanity gone to? Civility. Where's compromise and understanding? Those characters that live in the zoo actually have more organization of life than we do. I caution you, my friends, when you're out and about, I don't care if you're driving a Bentley or you're driving a Beetle. I don't care if you're riding a bike or you're taking public transportation, which really sucks in this town. I don't care what you do. Be on the lookout, because somebody is watching you. Some predator sees you as their prey. Keep your head on a swivel. Keep your eyes upright and out of your smartphones. Check your 360 once in a while. Keep your eyes wide and your ears open. I'll tell you what, I would rather go deal with the wild animals in the LA Zoo, even if they weren't in cages, than I would wanting to deal with the people in our society today, running amok, chaos and anarchy. And that's what our government is at. It's unbelievable to me what we as a nation have allowed ourselves to become. It's unbelievable to me that we have lost our true grit as a nation, as a people, as a person. It's unbelievable to me that we throw our hands up in the air and wave them like we just don't care. Because you know something? I don't believe we do anymore. We are truly living in days of Sodom and Gomorrah, and we don't have many rules behind us because nobody follows them, and certainly the lawyers and the courts don't follow the rules. They make them up as they want. The legislature and stupid O'Brown makes up rules as he wants. The assembly AOs and the senators, I'm going to call them the senators. That's what I'm going to call it. Not the senators. I've been looking for a word for them. Senators. That's what they're going to be called from me. And Confetti Garcetti, mayor here in Los Angeles, up in the state, they just allowed themselves to carry weapons, to make themselves exempt from the concealed carry laws in the state of California. But yet, they impose the American citizens in the state of California can't carry a weapon on their bodies that are properly registered and licensed and properly taught under supervision how to handle and shoot and keep that weapon healthy and safe. But yet they can, but you can't. They don't travel from Pacoima to central Los Angeles or LA. They don't travel down the freeways and highways every day dealing with the nincompoop drivers. They don't travel through the Los Animals of Los Angeles, but yet they can carry a weapon. They make them up as they want. We have really lost our way. I would rather be behind that Los Angeles Zoo sign right there with all those critters in there out of their cages than I would be wanting to walk through certain neighborhoods in this Los Angeles community. Better wake up, America. Baltimore is a murder fest. Chicago is a murder fest. Oakland, San Bernardino, Los Angeles, the border of the Mexican-American border, where journalists get themselves whacked in the middle of the day just because they're reporting. MS-13, 18th Street, La M, El Norte, the Mexican Mafia, the pedophiles and perverts under 57 that go free, under 47, the robbers and the thieves that go free, our police agencies, where there aren't enough of them, and nobody pays any attention to them, and everybody wants to kill them. No respect. Better wake up, America, because the America that you think you want, you will not survive in. The America that it is becoming, I promise you, you'll perish, or someone you love will perish. I'm standing in front of the Gene Autry Museum of the American West, and there's a reason why I'm standing here. When Gene Autry was a movie star singing cowboy, and he bought that big, huge ranch out there in the Santa Clarita Valley, where they do lots of filming now. Little House on the Prairie was down there. Oh, so many TV programs and films over the years, the ranch out there. And he owned the Angels, at one time, and he owned Channel 5 and KMPC Radio and KMPC and Channel 5 KTLA, and vast amounts of everything else. A billionaire of his time. Nice man too. Met him lots of times. I knew Gene Autry through my godfather, Harry Newman. When Gene Autry passed away, he had one of the world's greatest collections of firearms, historical firearms, and Western memorabilia, Indian artifacts, saddles, all this stuff of that time before him. So they wanted to build something and put his name on it here and put all his cool stuff in there. You got to go here and see it. But the reason why I'm standing here is because when he was alive, as a young man and a middle-aged man like myself, the world was a different place and America was a different place. America was vastly a different place. Los Angeles was really different. We're talking the era of World War I, World War II, Vietnam, or Korea, Vietnam. Gene Autry was actually born in the 19th century, so he got to see a lot of end of Civil War veterans. So we're talking about an American that was vastly different than they are today. You may think that that was good or bad, I don't know. But I'll tell you this much. When somebody said something to you, for the most part, you could count on it. Differences were settled right there, man to man, woman to woman. Unless there was some irreparable harm where you had to get involved with the police or the law. There were no gangs. Oh, there was organized crime, Mickey Cohen, the great gangster, and Bugsy Siegel, but there was no Mexican mafia, Le M El Norte, MS-13, 18th Street. There was no indiscriminate violent crime from young people. There were no mass murderers living in this town. People said, thank you, excuse me, pardon me, I beg your pardon, you're welcome. People loved America and the flag, the stars and stripes, and the national anthem. People were proud of our military people, except in Vietnam. 1960s changed everything. That's when America went awry. It was an all for one, one for all attitude. The country first, our family, our God. Not saying there wasn't crime. Most of the jails in California here were all white folks. San Quentin, the biggest population, were Irish and Polish and German. Not black people, not Mexican people, not Latinos. When you see the old videos of Johnny Cash in the 1960s, when he went to the different prisons around America and performed his songs, the old movies, they pan out to the audience, all the prisoners are white, the biggest majority. Schools were the best. Moms ruled the neighborhood. Old people were revered as something worthwhile. Teachers were respected. Police and fire weren't shot at. There was no homeless beggars of any magnitude. People took pride. What happened? What happened to Gene Autry's world? What happened to his world? Where did it go? Is it ever going to come back? I fear not. It's not coming back ever. I got to taste the first 25 years of my life in that world. And the last 31 years of my life has been in what we have today. Not acceptable to me. It's why I rail on this stuff on the Jesse T Show sometimes. It's why I came out here. I wanted to make a point. The point is simple. We need a little bit more of that world in today's world. And we need to have a little bit more law and order, like the friggin' animals have amongst themselves. If they were running free, there would be no chaos and anarchy. Everybody would find their place. We need to find that a little more in our world today. Privilege, like Miss USA said, privilege is an important word. You have a privilege to drive. You have a privilege to be a doctor. You have a privilege to be a lawyer, an engineer, a licensed individual of something. That's a privilege that can be taken away from you, and it should be. It's not a guaranteed right. There should be no pass and go when you break the law. It should be hard-edged and hardcore. For the bad guy, not against the good guy. It's time, folks, for good guys to raise up. It's time for good guys and good people to stand up and say, I'm not going to take this anymore. And I'm going to do something about it. These trivial things and protests are all pansy-wansy, watered-down, good-for-nothings. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty and the core. Let's stop the gang violence. Let's stop the pedophiles and perverts and human traffickers, the drug runners. Let's stop the disrespect that young people have, that old people have for old people. Let's put some pride back into what's called being an American, if you even know what it means anymore to be an American citizen of the United States of America. Doesn't mean you can run amok doing what you want. It means you have an obligation to live within the parameters and the laws that this great nation has created to govern, not to control. Control comes from ourselves. It comes from within. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. Control comes from you individually, not from some outside source. When you're at a country road and nobody's there and there's a red light that's red light for 5 minutes, you wait for 5 more minutes. You just don't run the red light. That's the old dilemma, right? You wait. And if you so choose and desire to run the red light, and all of a sudden out of nowhere, some helicopter lands behind you and says, pull over. You got caught. You suffer the consequences. Take your ticket like a man. Or like a woman. You've all heard that joke, right? You've all heard that joke, how a woman came around. So Adam was out there bouncing around naked, naming all the birds and animals and the bears, naming all the plants and the waters. He got bored after he named everything. He said, God, I'm bored. Can't you give me someone to talk to that's like me? So God knocks him out. He goes to sleep and rips off a rib out of him, puts a little spit and grit in it, picks up some dust, and poof, the next morning, there's this creature that's kind of like him when he wakes up. She's standing there looking at him. And he says, who are you? Man. And she doesn't say anything. She's just standing there buck naked looking at him. Now, she's got 2 arms and legs and eyeballs and ears and a nose and a mouth, but she got 2 breastises too. And she's got a body that won't stop. And she's beautiful and sparkly and happy and clean and vibrant and fresh and wonderful and not looking like old Adam, beat up and scrubby, working every day and night, naming things. He stands up and he goes, looks up in the heavens and he looks down at her and he goes, God, I don't know what you did, but man, oh man, oh man. Whoa, man. Whoa, man. Whoa, man. Whoa, man. That's a church joke. You can tell that in church and at the table with your kids. It overwhelmed old poor Adam's head, and he just went, whoa. And then he looked, man. Whoa, man. The Jesse T Show right here. 5 to 6 every day, Monday through Friday, standing in front of the LA Zoo and the Gene Autry Museum. Always remember this. If it don't start right, it don't end right. Make up for what you messed up. Change wrong to right. A man's as good as his word. If his word's no good, he ain't no good. Watch out for people, because they're not watching out for you. And watch out for people, because some of them actually want to hurt you. On the air and everywhere, the community of the world, this is Jesse T, Jesse Terrero. I'm leaving you with a beautiful day in Southern California. I'm out of here. Gonna go pump some iron, baby. Spartan, December 2017. I'll talk to you later. You are in the world according to Terrero. Straight on the point now. The Brown Beauty is off duty. Boom, baby. See ya.
Who says you can't have fun and learn at the same time? ThePowerOfVoices.com.
I am done with my mattress. That's right, I'm not spending another night on this old bag. My new mattress comes today, and this thing is out of here. Bye-bye, mattress.
Yep, bye-bye mattress. So says you and about 1,000 other people every day. And that's a lot of old mattresses with no place to go. There's the landfill, of course.
Way.org/play60 because